Hey friends, welcome back. Hope you're all having a blessed day today. Teresa and I were just having a conversation right before we started the video about something that happened to her at the office today, something she heard, which is 98% of the time not what she hears. And she talks about what she hears a lot. So I figured I'd let her, and by the way, her voice is going out on her a little bit. So she's been with patients all day, talking a lot. And so she often will go through these little short periods where her voice gets really hoarse and she loses it. So anyway, we apologize for that. But go ahead and tell them the story, hon.
So one of my patients who's been with me for quite a while told me she found a new primary care physician who's a female, and she's okay with hormones because she said, we didn't learn about hormones. So I can't tell you, yes or no, bad or good, just keep doing whatever you're doing with whoever is doing them. And so that's all I would ask for, is that you wouldn't give misinformation. You would just say, we don't learn that. I don't know that. Just like I would. I don't know how to do a root canal.
It's so easy.
I don't know how to do brain surgery. I don't know.
Yeah. Sounds really, really easy, but apparently it's not. So anyway, for those of you who are longtime followers, you know exactly what she's talking about. Speaking of that, if you're new here, welcome.
Yay.
I'm Mark. I'm a certified health coach. This is Teresa. She's a board certified family nurse practitioner. We are with Total Health and Wellness, and we like to talk about hormones, metabolic health, and just about everything in between. So let's get started. Okay, first thing, I have a housekeeping issue. I've mentioned this last week to you guys. I have a book giveaway, or we have a book giveaway we're going to be doing this week. This is The Road to Metabolic Health. It's a new book, just got released a couple of weeks ago on Amazon by Doug Reynolds. Doug is the co-founder of LowCarb USA, along with Pam Devine. By the way, if you guys haven't already done so, you should follow them on social media. Super great people doing a lot of great things. Yeah. In any case, if you guys are watching tonight and you're interested in winning this book, and you live in the United States. So sorry, as much as we love you guys that are overseas and we appreciate you following us, we can't justify spending $75 on shipping to send you a book. So just go to Amazon and order it on Amazon. Link will be in the description in the comments. In any case, if you guys are interested in this book, just drop a comment on YouTube here that says book. That's all you got to put in there. And what we'll do is I'll tally all those up, put them together, and we'll put them in a hat, and we'll have a drawing on Friday or Saturday this week. We like to try and do our third video of the week on Fridays. But sometimes we get carried away with going out and playing on our day off on Friday, and we don't make it home in time to do the video. Mm-hmm. So maybe on Saturday.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, just comment on it. If you're in the United States, just put book in the comment section, drop it in there, and we'll do the drawing on Friday.
And this is the signed copy, correct?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Thanks for reminding me. So this is a signed copy, and we've got 2 of these signed copies to give away and 2 copies that are not signed to give away. But we'll have more on giving those other copies later on. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get to our subject of tonight. So earlier today, I was reading something. I don't remember what it was about, and it mentioned in passing, that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. And Teresa and I have spoken about this before, and I think we've probably just touched on it a little bit on some of our videos about how there's really no scientific basis in breakfast being the most important meal of the day whatsoever. So I thought I would dig into it a little bit, and I kind of knew a little bit about this story already. But anyway, I'm going to tell you guys a little story today. I'm going to dig into the history of where breakfast being the most important meal of the day came from. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of Joe or something, and let's start story time. So way back during the late 1800s and the early 1900s, we had something going on in this country called the Industrial Revolution, okay? As a result of the Industrial Revolution, we had a lot of folks who were living a sustenance lifestyle on their own family farm, and they were doing all their own growing and ranching and doing all that kind of stuff. They, when the Industrial Revolution happened, you had all these businesses and factories open up, and they needed people to work at them. So a lot of people left the country for a better way of life, or more income anyway. And so they went to these factory jobs. And the problem with the factory jobs were that you were a lot more sedentary than you were when you were doing your farming and your ranching. So a lot of the jobs required sitting for long periods of time. Some of them may have been standing, but the bottom line is you weren't really moving around a whole lot. So people started actually suffering from indigestion, and it became it was a relevant problem. And so right away they said, well, we're doing this new way of work, but we're not changing the way we're eating. We're eating these heavy farm meals that we've been eating our whole lives and whatnot. And now all of a sudden we don't need to eat that way. So let's just go ahead and start eating a lot lighter. Okay. So that's what people did. They started eating a much lighter breakfast. Well, then fast forward around 1917, breakfast cereals were actually introduced. And the way they introduced them was you had these things called sanatoriums at the time. So sanatoriums are not an asylum for mentally ill patients, but they're like a long-term care facility for people who had certain different problems and whatnot that needed long-term care. So it was kind of like a long-term hospital, so to speak. And they were trying a lot of different things in these hospitals. They were trying vegan and vegetarian ways, diets on people. They were trying different medical interventions and drugs and things like that. That was all just coming about at this time. And one of the things that came about was you had these two gentlemen who happened to be cereal magnates. One of them's name was Harvey Kellogg, and the other one's name was James Jackson. Okay, so the two of them came along and they decided to start using what they had created, the breakfast cereals that they had created, to actually try and treat mental patients. So they started doing that, and then fast forward a couple of years, Harvey Kellogg actually became a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and that was a new church, a newly formed church that happened around that time. And when he did, he started experimenting. He was trying to use or claim that if you ate his breakfast cereal, which was, of course, we all know as cornflakes, it would ward off impurity and temptation and things like that. And so he made the claim that it was basically eating this way would stop you from masturbating. So it was like an anti-masturbation, like food, so to speak, or intervention. That's the word I was trying to look for. So that's for real. You can read this, and it's all over the place for you to find. We touched on this before.
I say it out of pocket all the time with videos.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous that you just kind of we'll throw it in there, like Teresa mentioned, out of pocket. So around that same time, or actually a few years afterwards, beyond the Seventh-day Adventist and Harvey Kellogg doing that, vitamins were discovered. So the scientists were able to determine that, hey, we can take vitamins out of the actual real food, like the meats and the vegetables and things like that, and we can add them to other types of food, like synthetic foods. So they started using those to fortify breakfast cereals and make the breakfast cereals healthy to eat. So they added, synthetic forms and natural forms of vitamins and minerals to those breakfast cereals, which they were absolutely devoid of any nutrient value whatsoever. So they had to be fortified to be able to call them really healthy.
Yeah.
So, and bear with me, I'm building up to, where this all came from here. I'm just kind of painting the picture, so to speak. Then around that same time, we had World War II happening. So during World War II, men went off to war to fight. And so what happened is all those factory jobs all of a sudden were empty. They were void, so they needed people to fill them. So women started leaving the home and going into the workforce. And so they took up a lot of those factory jobs that the men had vacated. And as a result of that, they had to find quick and easy ways to feed their children because they had to get up and go to work early in the morning. Who knows how long they were working, and they had to get the kids off to school or wherever they were going. So they started feeding the kids breakfast cereal, at the end of the day. At the beginning of the day. So that, along with this very, I feel like, unethical marketing done by these cereal manufacturers, where they were basically making the women feel guilty. It was maternal guilt. They were making the women feel guilty for leaving their kids all day because they had to go to work to earn money for their family while their husband was off, fighting. And that guilt led them to feeling like, oh, I've got to give my kids a healthy, nutritious breakfast, which, of course, the cereal companies were like, well, you could just give them our cereal. We've got this heavily fortified cereal. It's got all the vitamins and minerals you need. Give them to your kids. Then you can go to work all day long and it doesn't matter. Your kids will be fine. So that's kind of where this whole thing came from. But as far as being any sort of a scientific study that shows that breakfast cereal or breakfast in general is the most important of the day, it's just not. And we'll talk a little bit about that more in a second. But so the real problem here is, guys, is that you have medical and nutrition information. It's almost always funded by the very institutions that seek to gain the most benefit from the advertising, the marketing, the research. So they're the ones that spend the money on the marketing and advertising. They're the ones that spend the money on hiring researchers and scientists to do the study for them. And the outcome is baked in the cake ahead of time. Like the cereal companies or the junk food companies or the drug companies know they're going to get a favorable outcome because they're funding the study and they're paying those people that are doing the studies. So these flawed studies and the myths that come about from them, by the deceptive marketing and advertising, basically they create a narrative, and that narrative over a period of time becomes truth. And so after you've said that lie over and over and over again, and it's regurgitated through the media or whoever else you're paying, then everybody just assumes that it's true. All right. So that's kind of the whole story about breakfast being the most important meal of the day in a nutshell, or I should say why it isn't really the most important meal of the day. And then Teresa's going to talk to you a little bit about what you can do to kind of take control of your health.
I would love to know if you guys are watching us from out of the country, you guys, because I think America is the only country that allows like pharmaceutical advertisements.
Yes.
So if you are not in the United States, tell me if you've seen a pharmaceutical ad on TV, because we see them all the time.
All the time. Hopefully not for long though.
Like every commercial break.
Yeah, every commercial. So we don't even watch regular TV. Like we do streaming. So we do like Amazon and YouTube and Netflix, and well, Netflix doesn't do it, but yeah, you get these Hulu. I mean, my gosh, they're just constantly feeding you these. It's a new, almost every night when we tune in, it's like there's a new drug for a new problem that they've anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I mean, to offset all this, like you had mentioned before, there's nothing you can do about this false advertising or this misinformation. But what you can do is understand what you're up against. So then you can kind of go through the weeds and figure out, okay, this is junk. This is junk. This is good. This is junk. But all you need to do is eat nutrient dense foods. And those are meat, fat, and then veg isn't necessary for health. But if you like veg, that's fine. Just choose a lower carb veg, not like, I was thinking of those little canned peas, the LeSueur or LaFleur peas. They're so sugary.
Yeah. And they also have a lot of lectins in them, from my understanding.
Yes, right.
So they have some anti-nutrients and
Yeah. So veg has phthalates and lectins and anti-nutrients in it that don't agree with everybody. You'd be surprised if you took them out, how it might not agree with you. But real food. And then you could prevent or reverse all the chronic diseases that is related to too much insulin, which creates too much inflammation, which creates diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's and dementia, fatty liver, anxiety, depression, joint aches, osteoarthritis. All of those things could be alleviated if you just ate real food. And I saw a video one time on how they make corn flakes, and I can't remember where it was from, but it was really kind of gross. It was kind of like the seed oil industry where you're just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, pretty bad. All right. Well, you're all good?
Yep.
All right. I think we're all good here, guys. So just a reminder, again, if you guys are interested in getting this book for our giveaway, just go ahead and comment in the comment section below, the comment book, and we will put you in a little hat, and we'll draw from that hat on this coming Friday or Saturday, and we'll send it to a winner. Remember, you just have to be in the United States. Otherwise, if you're good, I'm good. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and call it there, guys. As always, and don't forget, if you haven't already done so, please like or subscribe to our page. So we love you guys. God bless you all. We'll see you next time. And don't forget, food matters.
Bye.
Bye.